Excelente, etc.
Thrill me.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Horror Flakes and Guitar Picks podcast. I'm your host, Tim, and today I'm joined by the one and only Adam Gomez of the Dickies. How's it going, man?
What's up?
Stoked to have you back on the show.
Dude. Yeah, thanks, man. You had your monster drink. I got a Dutch Bros drink. I got an energy drink from there, the Shark Attack.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Now I kind of wish you were doing Jaws.
What's up?
So now I kind of wish you were doing Jaws and be on theme.
Oh, yeah, I know, man. Like on the picture when my wife was ordering the drinks, like you can see it kind of looks like a rainbow. Like it's got like a red on top and like a yellow and green at the bottom, like at the actual drink.
Oh.
And when I grabbed it, it was just all pretty much just brown, like all mixed together. I'm like, oh man. But like the picture made me understand why it's called Shark Attack, because like the top is red, almost like if you get attacked by a shark and the blood, rises to the surface of the water.
Yeah.
The picture looked cool. My drink, not so much.
I had the same thing kind of happen to me. There's that place called Grindcore Coffee House up in like in the Philly area, and they're awesome. If you're ever in the area, I highly recommend checking them out. They're vegan based, and they're pretty much like every time you go in there, they're playing like like punk and hardcore and stuff, and all those types of genres. And they have a thing called a drink called the Swamp Thing, and it's pretty much all green until the bottom, and then it's like black at the bottom, and it looks super cool. And I like got it, and like without thinking about it, I like mix it all together myself, and it like did the same thing. It like pretty much looked like brown toilet water when you mix it all together. It's delicious, and I highly recommend it. And they ended up doing one for a limited time called a carry that was like all like red and then black at the bottom, and that thing was just as like even better. I really like that
That's
just as much. But
were those energy drinks or no, or they were just like
they're like coffee.
refreshers?
Yeah, they're
Okay.
like I think it's like a espresso at the bottom, and then like this one had like that one was like a strawberry lemonade something.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, and then the Swamp Thing one is like a matcha something because it's like green, but I might be wrong on the flavor there because it's been so long. I go like every like maybe once a year, so it's few and far between
Right.
when I get to go. But definitely had them a few times now, and I recommend them. But luckily, the first time I went, I was with a buddy who got one, and he hadn't stirred it up yet, so I was like, I'll take a picture of your drink and show it to my wife so that way she could see how nice it was. But hell yeah. And of course, today we're talking about this isn't your first time on the show. So if anybody wants to hear an episode where we do all the basic questions, like what's your favorite horror movie, how you got into them growing up, they could dive back and find those. It'll be on the audio only episodes because now we're on YouTube and stuff. But for this episode and your return to the show, we're talking about Evil Dead Rise, which is from what, 2022? I should have had the year on hand. That's my bad. But
I actually don't remember.
That's what I was going to say. It's so recent.
Oh.
You think it would have been in my head already? Yeah, 2023. So
Okay.
I was off by a year, damn it.
In my head, it seems like yeah, I guess that seems about right. Because that's the last one that's out so far. So
Yeah.
for me, it seems like, oh, it's quote unquote new still in my head. So
Yeah, and it feels like 2 years ago, which I guess like because it's just the beginning, which is we're about almost done with the first quarter of 2026. It still feels like 2025 sometimes. So it does feel like 2 years ago, which would be 2023. But
right.
I guess now that it's 2026, it's technically 3 years ago. But before we dive into that, I know you got a YouTube channel as well as you got stuff coming up with the Dickies. This episode will drop in 2 weeks, so just if that changes anything you want to promote, as far as that stuff goes. But do you want to let the people know about what type of stuff they can find on your YouTube channel, which of course I'll have that link in the description. And then of course, if you have anything coming up with the band or any other projects that you want to let them know about.
Yeah, so the YouTube channel is Drum Through Drive-In, and that's got mostly punk rock covers. I did a couple different things here and there. Like I played with a cover band that did 60s and 70s soul,
Oh yeah.
and not Motown soul, but Stax Records soul,
Yeah.
which is not quite a rival from Motown, but I don't know, in a way. But anyway, because of that, then I had some old soul songs under my belt that I had studied. So I did a cover of that, so that's on there. I think I did a Jelly Roll slash Lainey Wilson song that didn't really have drums, so I put drums on it.
Oh yeah.
But 99% of everything on there is punk rock. drum covers, and so that's been fun. I think the last one that I put out was a DOA song, um, which actually isn't theirs. The original is from Subhumans Canada,
Oh yeah.
the Subhumans over in Canada, and DOA covered it. And I didn't know that, man. The first time I heard the song, um, which is called FU, right? But it's,
Mhm.
FUCKU.
Yeah.
First time I heard it, I don't know, I think I was like 13 or 12 or 13, and it's been my one of my number one punk rock songs across the board of all time. Always. It always has been, still is. So back then I had no idea it was from Subhumans UK. I thought it was just from DOA.
Yeah.
But I was on tour with the Adolescents a year ago or so, and we were talking about that song. I was talking about it with Tony, the singer, because they had covered it and put it out on their record. And then he told me, he's like, no, it's actually, this band. I'm like, what? It's them? It's not even an original by DOA. Dang it. I still loved it though. It didn't matter. So when I did the drum cover, I still used the DOA version because
Yeah.
that's just the version that for me captured that certain energy that I couldn't deny it, man. Couldn't deny that energy.
Hell yeah. No, I know exactly what
Yeah.
you mean. There's some classic songs that are like that, though. You know what I mean? That literally people don't know are covers. Like there's so many people that don't know "Proud Mary" is a CCR song instead of a Tina Turner song. And
Right.
to go into just like pop, big pop culture songs. People don't know about all the different people that sing. Was it "I Will Always Love You" was Dolly Parton, and then made big by Whitney Houston and shit like that.
Yeah,
So
man.
there's so many songs like that that literally are famous for years, and then people are like, "Oh shit!" Or even what's one that was there was one recently that was kind of going. I know you mentioned Jelly Roll and Lainey Wilson, so you might know this one because knowing the country genre a little bit more. There was that one that was "Stay" was covered by Florida Georgia Line, and it was a Blackstone Cherry song. So it was like
Oh,
literally like
wow. Okay. Yeah.
it was like one of the biggest country songs on the radio, and people didn't know that it was kind of more of like a Southern rock band song. So
Right. That's wild, dude. And you know what? Speaking of that, of covers not knowing that it's, from somebody else, I was recently listening to Spotify. Here, I'm gonna pull it up real quick so I have the right artist, but I heard a cover on Spotify, and because it was on Spotify, in my head, I wasn't thinking that it was a cover. I just thought whoever I was listening to at that moment, it was their song. And it was just brilliant, bro. It was just so good. And I looked it up on YouTube, I think, and that's how I figured out it was actually a cover. But the song is called Doomed, and I believe it's by Bring Me the Horizon, I think.
okay, oh yeah,
And I'm actually not a big fan of that band. I know who they are. I know
yeah,
they're, a big band as far as like the new metal core genre and that world. But the version I heard was from a girl called Mafra, Maphra. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right,
yeah,
Mafra or Mafra, but I would assume Mafra.
yeah,
But man, dude, it was one of these instances where it's like, oh, okay, it's by this band, so I'm gonna go listen to the original. And I'm not knocking the band at all. I'm not throwing any shade, but for me, the Mafra version was better.
yeah.
It just totally topped it, bro. It was better. It was like that, and that's like a rare thing, I think, is when someone does a cover and it's actually better than the original. It's
Yeah.
wild.
No, I agree. That's very few and far between that like a cover like surpasses it. Usually it's like most people will be like, "Oh man, I love this cover," but it doesn't touch the original. But yeah, there's very few that come along that definitely do. Same thing with like movie remakes, you know what I mean? Kind of goes hand in hand with that
Yeah.
stuff, when people remake a horror movie. There's some that happen to just surpass the original and it's all subjective, you know what I mean? So like there's gonna be those diehards that
Yeah.
are like, "No, fuck you, you're wrong," but no, I love
Right. It
when
could,
somebody does it good enough to beat out the original. So
yeah. Yeah, and you do have those gatekeepers where it doesn't even matter if it maybe even really was better. They don't want it to be better, so they won't believe that it is better.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And I get it. I get that.
Like I
Oh,
love one of my favorite bands. I love Thin Lizzy, but give me Metallica's Whiskey in the Jar all day over fucking uh
right.
Thin Lizzy's, dude.
Yeah, that's an example there. Yeah, for sure, dude.
But no, hell
Um,
yeah. Anything else you want to promote as far as the bands go? And I know you also hop on drums for John Massari from time to time, to compose.
yeah, he's working on a record right now, and it's not movie related. It's like a heavy rock metal type album that he's been wanting to make for decades. And now he has under his circumstances, he has the chance to do it now. So I've been working with him on it. Um, as far as I'm concerned, being in that world with him, it's been, I think, a year working with him on that.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it's rad, man. There's some tracks in there where it's like I realize the way I can help make things extra heavy for him on drums when I'm in sessions is simplifying my drums.
Yeah.
That just makes the big open um heaviness and um breath of like big drops and stuff like that is me drumming a little less. Drumming hard
Yeah.
and knowing that it's creating a big swell or big, it's almost like creating a big fall. You have to have a big open space for a big fall to feel something that big and large, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, less notes sometimes.
Hell yeah. I know exactly what you
Yeah.
mean. Just compared to horror movies, just because, we that's pretty much what compare most things to. But they no, you got to build that tension, you know what I mean? And it's just like if you have too much, going on, sometimes it's like people are too focused to actually like enjoy what's going on, you know what I mean? So no, I definitely feel you on that. Plus, sometimes when there's busyness in other places, you don't want to be busy too, and then it just sounds, not that it I don't want to say it muddies things, but it just makes it like again, it sounds like you kind of focus instead of enjoying. You know what I mean? Like you start to be like, oh man, like listening for the intricacies instead of just sitting back and being like, fuck yeah, this rule.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like enjoying and stuff and like being along for the ride. But no, hell yeah, I'm excited to check that out.
Yeah.
I'm of course a big fan of his. From his composing stuff and then just all the stuff he continues to do for the Killer Clowns film and stuff. But
Right.
in,
Yeah. And I'm a big fan too. So, it's an honor every time he shoots me a text or we, start talking about that stuff and he brings me in, onto his team to do something like that. It's like it's always an honor, man. It's great. I
oh yeah.
love it.
No, and then anything else with
Yeah.
the Dickies or anything that you want to promote?
Yeah, we are I've been to a lot of places all around the world with these guys, right? All around the States. I've never been to Hawaii, but we actually have some shows coming this April. I think two shows out there on two different islands out there, and so that's going to be exciting.
Oh yeah,
That's
that's
coming up.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And let's see. By the time this comes out, this may have passed, but April, I think it's April. No, it actually might be this next weekend, March 20th. I'm playing with DI. So that's
Oh,
another SoCal punk rock band that I sub in for sometimes. So I'll be doing that. And see, I'm trying to think of what else is coming up. We have more shows coming up. Um, that would be nice if we were out there in North Carolina
yeah.
this year. The one time that I was out there, we've passed through there a lot of times, but we did play one show that I remember in Raleigh, and the weather was so great, man. It was so great. And it was like, I think it was June, and I think there was some kind of storm that was about to come through or just came through.
Yeah.
And so we had missed that part. We missed the rough part, but when we were there, it was just beautiful, man. The weather was perfect. I loved it.
Mhm. What's funny is we actually have a storm coming tomorrow, and today, like the weather is so perfect. Like the calm before the storm. Like we were outside, me and my son were outside, like running around for a good hour earlier today, and the whole time I was like, man, I wish I didn't have to come out here, like, because after this interview, I'm gonna go outside and have to go put all of our lawn chairs in the shed because like we're supposed to get like 50-mile-an-hour winds out of
Oh,
nowhere and shit, so, and
yeah.
hail and all this. So
Darn, man. I thought you were gonna say you were gonna be able to enjoy going outside, but you have to prep.
no, yeah. Of course, I'll take
Yeah,
him
you're
back
gonna be
out and
busy
just let him
prepping.
run around that time. But
Yeah.
I got to enjoy it earlier, so at least I got a little bit of time outside and stuff. But Uh, but no, and it's only going to be a day, and then we'll be back to nice weather. So we'll have that
Right on.
the post storm stuff you were talking about like in a couple of days. So that'll be
Yeah.
nice. But no, hell yeah. And yeah, I know you mentioned DI, but you fill in for quite a few projects, right? Like I know every now and then you jump in for Adolescence, and I think you jumped in for, was it At the Drive-In? There was another band that I remember you jumping in for that,
Um,
not At the Drive-In. What was it?
yeah, aside from Adolescence and
Oh, Death
DI,
by
in the
Stereo?
past of stuff, actually no, but I know Mikey and I know Ephraim from Death by Stereo, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're friends
Maybe.
of mine, but I've never jumped in.
Okay.
You know, the funny thing though is Mikey, drummer for Death by Stereo, is the usual Adolescence drummer.
Oh, hell yeah.
And we kind of look alike, you know. If we're far away enough from you, we kind of look. He's a tiny bit taller than me, but he's got a
I-
couple inches on me. But I'm kind of like his stunt double. From far away, you still think you're seeing Mikey on drums, but not really. You know what I mean?
You can be the stand-in, yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
follow him on Instagram, so that's probably why I got mixed up because of the adolescence
mm,
thing, because he posted about adolescence and then you posted about adolescence, so that's probably where I got him mixed up. But
right, yeah, yeah. So he's I love Mikey, man. He's an awesome drummer too. I watch him sometimes when he puts his videos up to see like how free he is. You know, I can tell, you know, from drummer to drummer, or maybe from musician to musician. Maybe other musicians can see how um you know how the song goes. So then in your head you can see the liberties he's taken and how he kind of flies in the direction he wants to go, and how he wants to take things. You know what I mean? It's really cool to see that. And they'd be like, oh, okay, he in that little part he thought of that and did that instead. And it's cool. I love watching him when he puts stuff up. It's cool.
oh yeah. No, and he's a funny follow as well. If I'm not mistaken, his story, he's the one that always has the like he rates the leg room on planes, and he always like posts about it and stuff, and other people will tag him
Yeah.
and he'll rate their leg room and stuff. So no, it's funny as shit. But
Yeah, all you see is like his knees and the airplane seat right in front of him, just
yeah.
like looking down and seeing the zero space that there is in economy all the time.
Yeah, and he'll
Yeah.
be like 2 out of 10, this shit sucks or something like that.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, so I sub for Mikey sometimes, but just for adolescents.
Oh yeah.
Um, Ephraim was joking with me one time. We met up at in England, in Blackpool, England. So we were doing a festival together. And he made a joke about, you know, me being in the band, just messing around, and he's like, nah, you don't want to be in our band, dude. You wouldn't want to be in Death by Stereo. And then him and I can't remember who else it was. I don't know if it was Dan, I think it is, like the one of the other guys. He was like they were like reciting stories to me that they like pranks they would do on each other, you know, while they're on tour. I'm like, oh crap, dude. Yeah, you're right. I don't think I want to be in your band.
You're right.
I'd have to say no, man.
Right. I'm sure
If
the
you
dudes in
needed a
the
sub, I
Dickies are
don't
a
know if
little
I'd
bit
say yeah.
right. The dudes in the Dickies, I'm sure, are a little bit more lax these days. You know what I mean? They're not fucking pranking each other
Mhm.
and stuff anymore. So
Yeah, not so much anymore.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure those guys got in a whole lot of trouble back in their younger days for sure. The
Yeah.
Dickies guys.
No, hell yeah.
I've heard a lot of stories from their past. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
that'd be the fun part now is you just kind of get there, have like an encyclopedia on the band as you tour with them and stuff. So
yeah, right. And I don't have to live through any
trauma.
well, not really have to live through any crazy punk rock youngster pranks and getting into trouble and stuff like that. We're all, you know, they're older, I'm a grown man, so
Yeah.
punk is for the youth. We're just here to keep trying to provide the classics
Oh
to the
yeah.
youth, you know what I mean?
Nah, and you like you said, you get to
Oh,
enjoy the stories without having a record because of it.
right. Okay, see who else? Oh yeah, and then I keep showing up to this bar called Alex's Bar in Long Beach because Dickies just played there. I was there a couple months back with Adolescents, and then in between that, I was there with that cover band that I mentioned, Black Diamond Riders, which they do 60s soul covers, and that consists of me subbing in, and then Johnny Two Bags from Social Distortion on guitars. We've got Greg from TSOL doing the organ stuff,
Oh
and
yeah.
then Jesse from the Agrolites. I don't know if you know who the Agrolites are. They're like a
Yeah.
reggae band from over here. Yeah. So Jesse has been doing the vocals the past 2 years or so, and he's a perfect fit, man. It's just doing soul is just his. He's just got that golden voice for soul, man.
Yeah.
So he's been on vocals, and Warren Renfro from Manic Hispanic / Cadillac Tramps does bass, and just it's just like this large setup, at least in my eyes, because there's like a horn section too. So it's a different dynamic, but it's awesome, man. It's magical. So I was there with at Alex's bar with them. Before that, I was at Alex's bar with the band called David and the Curse,
Oh yeah.
which you can look up and you can find them. They're on YouTube and Spotify and stuff. Like a rock and roll band, really great writers. When I started playing subbing for with them, subbing in with them, and they sent me the songs. David had sent me the songs. I'm like, man, dude, this is so good. Just the writing abilities that they have and how David puts it together and everything. It's just so good, man. But
Yeah.
anyways, yeah. So those are the bands lately that I've been subbing in with this past year.
Oh yeah. That's awesome. You got a little super group going with those dudes.
Yeah, Black Diamond Riders, man.
Yeah.
It's fun. We'll get together for like one rehearsal right before the show. A few days before the show, and hang and you know go through the songs, laugh and joke. It's rad.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
It's
Now that's
nice.
awesome. And like I said, I'll put the description. I mean, I'll put the link to your YouTube in the description. For people that want to go follow that. I know you put not only covers, but you put some of your playthroughs up there and stuff from the stuff you do with the Dickies, and I'm sure you'll do some of the John Massari stuff when that drops. So
Yeah. He's tagged some of it too. He's put some of that stuff from the last studio session that we had
yeah.
somewhere out in LA, and that went well. Yeah, we had some cool metal type stuff going on,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, he's posted a little bit about that too. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well,
Let's
of
talk
course,
about Evil Dead, bro.
as I say, of course, we could dive into the horror movies with Lee Cronin's Evil Dead Rise from 2023. Uh, this was your pick. Of course, I gave you the list of stuff we already covered, and this was the one that you decided to go with, which, of course, you'll be welcome back in the future to do another one. But what was your reasoning for choosing this one?
It's become, I guess this is the number one reason why. It's become one of my uh comfort movies to fall asleep to. So
Hell yeah.
um yeah, a lot of times like if I'm on my own, like if my wife and daughter are out of town or out of state, because my wife's a teacher, so sometimes she always has summer vacation and Thanksgiving vacation stuff. So sometimes they go visit in-laws out of state. So when I'm on my own, I'll just be stuck at the end of the night just with the TV on, and I just like falling asleep to horror movies. That's just the thing, you know what I mean?
Same.
And that one's been my latest comfort movie to fall asleep to. So
Hell yeah.
Evil Dead Rise. Yeah, and it's fun, man. It's a really fun one. I love it.
Do you remember the
Um,
first time you saw it, and like when you saw it for the first time? What was your like fandom of Evil Dead going into it?
Dang, man. I think when I first watched it, I did watch it here at the house, and I was on my own. And I think when it first started, I was skeptical because I'm like, I don't know, dude. How's this how's this gonna play out? But at the same time, I was excited because I remember seeing the promo poster with the cheese grater,
Yeah.
and that alone was like, oh, bro, how violent and gruesome is this gonna be?
Yeah.
And in that Evil Dead manner, you know what I mean? Because there's all kinds of gory, violent movies, but they're gory and violent in different ways. And Evil Dead is always clever and cheeky, but super bloody at the same time. So I was excited from seeing something like that, but then at the same time, when I get excited about a movie, I start getting very skeptical as well. I'm like, wait, dude, you're building it up in your head. You don't want to sit down and watch a movie that you anticipated too much for, and it's like it ends up being okay, and then I end up, saying the movie was not good, even though maybe it was okay. But because I was so excited for it, I kind of let myself down because I anticipated it too much.
Yeah. Now I've done that as
I
well,
do
and
that.
sometimes it's taken that second watch for me to be like, okay, that was actually really good. You know what I mean? So it took like the expectations
Right.
to drop that first watch, and then like revisiting it later to be like, oh shit, that was way better than I gave it credit for the first time. So
Right. Right. So yeah, but once I watched it, I'm like, man, dude, that was great. That
oh
was
yeah,
fun. I mean, that's really what it is. You know what I mean? Horror movies are fun to me. They're not scary. I mean, there's a few that might creep me out, over the
yeah,
years, but that was just a fun one.
oh yeah. Were you a big fan of the franchise going into it? I mean, I know you liked them, but like, would you say they were like it's probably one of your favorite franchises, or?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably within my top three or four favorite franchises because I remember seeing um Army of Darkness when I was probably 10, and at the time we had barely moved from Los Angeles out to the area I'm in now, which is like an hour east, 45 minutes east of Los Angeles. And back then, since I'm not so young anymore, back then when I was 10, VHS was huge still. That was just the main media for movies.
Yeah,
And I probably mentioned this in the last episode a while back, but I always loved running to the horror section just to see the art of all the movie covers, the VHS movie covers. I just loved it. It was just a thing. That was like number one. That, and then number two was, um, scoring a Genesis game to rent if they
yeah.
had
I was just about to say
Genesis.
a video game. Yeah,
Yeah. But that was number two on the list. Number one was running to the horror section and looking at all the art on the movies. And then trying to see, which cover would actually scare me just by the art. You know what I mean? Being a kid. But coming across Army of Darkness, I don't know if it was like my brother choosing it or not, because I was always attached to the hip to my older brother. I wanted to do everything he did and watch everything he watched and everything. So yeah, watching Army of Darkness that young, and then somehow I forget how we discovered um Evil Dead 1 and 2 from that. I think it was because the cassettes, the VHS cassettes were there with Army of Darkness
yeah,
in the horror section. So then I already knew of those covers and but didn't think anything of them, like not knowing the connection
yeah,
um between them until seeing Army of Darkness, and then knowing Bruce Campbell, being familiar with that, his whole character and stuff, and then going back to the Evil Dead covers and then looking on the back and then be like, hey, wait, I recognize that guy, and then seeing like that's the same dude. He's got the chainsaw in his hand and everything. He's got the slick black hair. This is Evil Dead stuff, and then
yeah,
kind of going from there and just yeah, it became um a childhood favorite, I guess you can say.
yeah.
So ever since then, yeah, it's been in my top three or four, man.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
No, that Army of Darkness cover definitely rips, and I could see like it's easily mistakable because Evil Dead 1 and 2 have like I don't even think they have Bruce Campbell on the front. They just have him maybe on the back, but because Evil Dead 2 obviously
Yes.
has that skull. Because that was my experience with it growing up. I had the same experience with going to the horror section. I looked all the time, but I was so scared I hardly rented anything but like the same horror movies, which were like maybe Pumpkinhead, Halloween 2, and Nightmare on Elm Street 1 were like the three that I like always went back to because I'd already seen them. So I was like, they're only but so scary the 20th time. But I would
Right.
always look, and you would have too that skull, like that one right there was like always stuck with me and stuff. And then that between that and then like catching a scene late night flipping through one day and seeing the girl peeking out of the cellar in the first movie and like kind of doing the taunting and stuff, and that fucking freaked me out. So that like left me with night terrors for a couple months when I was a kid. But I didn't even get to like start enjoying the movies till much later and stuff. And of course at that point I learned the Army of Darkness was part of the Evil Dead. But there's kids today that like as a horror fan, we obviously know that stuff now, and after, learning all this stuff, but there's kids today that literally, when I was working at a movie theater as an assistant manager, I would ask them about movies and they would not even have heard of them. And it would blow my mind. There was a 17-year-old kid that had never heard of the movie Friday, like never even heard of it. And
Wow.
I was like, what the fuck, dude? And I was like, he's the type of person that if I said, have you heard of Army of Darkness? He probably has never even heard of it, let alone knows it's part of Evil Dead. He's 17, you know what I mean? So, uh,
Right.
no, I could see that's and that name change, the tone change, like even looking at the two covers, one looks strictly horror and one looks kind of like action horror. And
Right.
no, I what's crazy is over the years, Army of Darkness was probably the one I came to last, and without spoiling future episodes too much, Army of Darkness is probably my favorite in the franchise currently. It's the one that like I feel like I have the most fun rewatching lately.
Right on. Right on. Yeah, and speaking of the part two, like the cover you have behind you, that was the one that stuck out the most as far as the cover,
Yeah,
for sure. Because it was just that the art's done so well, man. Like when you're a kid looking at that thing, it looks like a literal real skeleton with literal real eyeballs in it. When you're looking at the cover of it and you're a kid, you're like, this is absolutely real, man. Even though you know it's not, it's just a great great cover, man. I love it. But I
yeah,
remember that sticking out the most, and way more than the Army of Darkness cover and the Evil Dead 1 cover.
yeah,
But like I said, once we watched Army of Darkness, it just we're able to make the link,
yeah.
between all three. And yeah, man. But
And the Evil Dead poster, the first movie that's gotten iconic, I don't remember. That's the thing is, I remember that becoming iconic over the years, but I don't ever remember seeing the VHS of like the woman reaching her hand out. You know what I mean? And
hmm
I feel like that's the iconic poster that I remember. But I feel like the VHS I always saw literally just said Evil Dead and had maybe Bruce Campbell on it with a boomstick or something. You know what I mean? Or something.
mm,
Like it was very bait. It was by that point that I started seeing the first Evil Dead movie on VHS. I think they had like a re-release that was like kind of a butt cover. So, uh,
right. I'm trying to remember if I had seen any other covers in the past, but
you know,
not myself. I think back then, by the time I came across those VHSs, that one with the girl reaching up, um, that was the cover, at least at that video store.
yeah. Now that might have
Yeah.
even been in there, or it might have been one of those things that because I was looking, like early 2000s, they might have only had two in Army of Darkness, because they had limited spots, so it might have been like,
Mm,
well, we don't need the first one because I went to like Blockbuster and then a few family like mom and pop places. We had a Planet Video, a Blockbuster, and then we had like a Just Release place, a place called Just Release that was like a family owned place and like a couple other spots. And I feel like the family owned places only had like very little horror sections, and then Blockbuster had the biggest horror section, but of course, like they were more strict with renting stuff to kids and stuff. So when I went in there, I wouldn't like look with intention to actually rent. You know what I mean? So, uh,
right.
but no, hell yeah, to get back to Evil Dead Rise, seeing that for the first time, I had such a blast. I remember exactly seeing when I saw it because certain movie theater experiences don't stick out, but that time I remember it came out. It was literally 420, uh, and we're 420 friendly on the show, at least on my side, I'll say. But um, I don't want to say that. I'm not speaking for our guest here, but and so I went to the movie theater to see Beau is Afraid, followed by Evil Dead Rise. So I was in the movie theater for like 6 hours by myself just watching movies. And
That's a great combo of movies to be able to watch, man, in one day. That's rad.
right, and it was the release day. It was a Thursday. It was like the early release day for both of them. And I went to an early Beau's Afraid at like 3 o'clock, and I was like, I want to do Evil Dead Rise second because that's probably gonna be the funner film, or at least more like straight horror. Where Beau's Afraid, I know is gonna be weird. I'm not sure what to expect. So uh, I just got out of Beau's Afraid. I was on a high from that because I loved that movie. And then I went into Evil Dead Rise immediately, and that was like a packed theater, and it was their first showing of it for the day, and it like that whole theater just like lit up and reacted without being like, they reacted, but they weren't like overly talkative and stuff like that. So it was like a perfect theater experience, and I had an absolute blast with that movie. So that also really made this film extra like special in a way, special not in a way of like it's near and dear to my heart, but that I'll always remember that theater experience is like one of my favorites. You know what I mean? So.
Right, right. That's awesome, bro. Being able to see it in the movie theater.
Yeah.
I wish I did. I didn't have the chance. Yeah.
No,
Um,
it was literally just because of at the time my son he still has a babysitter, but there's like Monday through Friday, and it's like whether you pay for it or whether he goes 1 day or 5 days, you have to pay for it regardless. So I was
right.
like, when I saw those two movies and what day it was, I was like, he's gonna go to the babysitter that day. I'm gonna go to the movies. But
Yeah, no, but I hear you. Yeah. I mean, to hold his spot, you have to pay that certain amount,
yeah,
whether he's there or not. And if you don't
right.
pay it, then he loses his spot.
No, but
Yeah.
But no, I was sold from the beginning of the film to kind of dive into the film itself. That opening scene, especially because like we immediately start getting homages without them being, like shoving them down your throat, because you immediately get the traveling camera through the woods to the girl reading off the
Yeah,
paper and stuff. And
I wanted to mention that.
how'd you feel about that opening scene?
I loved it because it was like it was obviously reminiscent of the original ones.
Yeah,
When the demon is like pushing down the trees and going straight towards the cabin, but it ends up being a drone.
yeah,
It's great, dude. I love it. It's appropriate for the story that's being told at that moment, but it still found a way to apply that famous Evil Dead, demon coming for you kind of thing. So that was brilliant, man. I love that. That was so cool. And then the book thing, um, where she's reading Wuthering Heights, and then I forget the girl's name. Was it Jessica or I forget, but
yeah. I can't
she
remember
pops up and
those.
starts reciting the lines, just like an Evil Dead one, right? That was
Yeah,
reminiscent to, was it Ash's sister? Was it supposed to be? I forget.
yeah. I think
Where
she's
she
the one
starts
that's like
reading off.
the cards. Yeah,
Yeah, the poker card. She just starts reading them off. It's the same thing. It was great, man. And even in that scene, there's like a really short clip of them zoomed in on the clock, and the gold thing that kind of hangs. You can see a reflection of the girl in it, I think. And I think that's supposed to be reminiscent of the old clock that you see in at least Evil Dead 2.
yeah,
I think you see it in part one as well. I forget, but I think that was another reference to the old, the
yeah.
original stuff. So yeah, that whole beginning is great, man. I loved how it started um kind of backward as far as the storyline. Yeah, it's great, dude. I loved it.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that helped the film is thrusting you right in because that was one thing that helped 2013 without jumping around to the other films too much while talking about this one. But that opening scene where they like catch the girl and like burn her alive in 2013 that like reboot, uh, like they needed
Right.
something like that to grab your attention early and let you know what kind of film you're in for, or else like I could see people starting to get bored in the first 30 minutes. I mean, not necessarily in that film, but I just mean in general, they kind of want to give you like a thing early to let you know what you're in for. And they do that very well with this. They give you all the homages, but then they immediately thrust you into two very awesome like gruesome moments with the scalping and the fucking drone to the face. So it's like
Yeah.
you immediately get the tone in both. You're gonna get some awesome gore, but you also are gonna get the like offsetting like dark humor that you get, in the other films. So
Right, right. And then, when she rises up from the water and the title kind of comes up from behind her, you know what I mean? And you hear all those discordant strings going on
yeah,
with with it was just great. That kind of reminded me of Insidious, the way Insidious starts, when all of a
yeah,
sudden the screen's black and then you hear all the strings and the title pops up. It was kind of like that, but it had that same effect. Like, I
yeah.
don't know,
No, I
an
always
extreme
say
presentation to the title.
no, I agree. And Insidious is one of those that I always credit to being like a 7 or 8 out of 10 movie, but the score is a 10 out of 10 for me. Like Joseph
Yeah, bro. It's
Bashar
so
killed it.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the
I
guy that
love
did the
it.
score played the Lipstick Demon, which is wild. So,
Oh, right.
yeah. But shout out Stephen McKeon who did the score for this. I had him on the podcast. He was a past guest as well, and he was a super awesome guy. They use so many cool like things to get effects for the score. Like there's a part later on where you hear a literal chainsaw like within the score, and of course that's like foreshadowing for things to come in the film and stuff. So no,
Right.
it's super awesome. Not to plug my own
That's
show, but
rad.
I highly recommend checking out that interview. He was an awesome guy and like super fun just to chat with. So I think he's from Ireland. So
Okay. Wait, which movie are you talking about that he scored?
this Evil Dead Rise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I looked him up and I can't remember his name at the moment, but yeah, dude, it's the score for this one is brilliant, man. It's
Yeah. Stephen
so
McKean is his
rad.
name.
I
Yeah.
think I was looking for him to be like, hey, dude, if you need any drums for any of the stuff you're working on soon, then I'm your guy.
I know.
Um,
I wonder if he's doing Lee Cronin's The Mummy, the guy that did this, because he's got The Mummy coming up next, and if so, maybe I'll have to reach
right.
out and get him back on the show. But no, which I'm excited for that because just because of this film, like I'm like, if he did this with this IP, I can't wait to see what he does with that one. So
Yeah, yeah, that's rad, man. Um, okay, so I'm trying to think of more Easter egg stuff in this one in particular in this movie.
Well,
I
there's
made some notes,
I was gonna
but
say you got the pizza. Of course, of course
yeah,
we move on to the family and stuff. We get introduced to them and kind of the way that the setting's going to be, which that's what I really like is you get the dark, gringy. I kind of want to say wet club. Like everything just is wet in this film because it's like all rainy and gross and but it works perfectly. And then of course you get the same thing with the apartment and you meet all the kids and uh that's one thing that is awesome about the Evil Dead films is the fact that like you mentioned earlier, Ash's sister and his girlfriend are in the first movie, so there's so many attachments there. Same thing with the second movie, it's him and his girlfriend, and then the people that show up are like two couples that are attached to each other. And then um Army of Darkness is probably the only one that doesn't have that stuff, but it's just kind of like you're following the fun Ash on an adventure. But then that new one that came out, they're all trying to fix their friend's addiction, and one of them's a brother sister. So they all have this family aspect, and this one does it so well by having literally just an entire like everybody's blood related in this one, so the stakes are even higher with every character. Every time they face off with each
right.
other, it's blood related and stuff. So no, I love that
And it,
aspect. But
I think it pulls us in more too because you feel more that the family connection because it's literally a family
yeah,
with kids, so it pulls you in more and you feel more invested in their, hoping that they survive and you don't know which one is, but you hope they all do somehow, you know what I mean? Because
yeah,
they're kids, their family, um, their dad's gone, so you just kind of they put you in that state of mind of like kind of feeling for them, and they're in a rundown apartment that's about to be you know, bulldozed in a month. So they kind of put you in the right spot to be to really root for them. But then everything goes wrong.
yeah.
Pretty much almost all of them die. So
No, and the kids
it's
aspect,
wild.
yeah, that's definitely underrated. The whole like the fact that this is the first one with like actual kids, like other than two characters, like five of out of your five main characters, only two of them are like truly adults. So
Yeah, yeah. And then Alyssa Sutherland, the mom,
yeah,
was just perfect, man. She was just perfect for that role. She did amazing. It just made she made most of that movie, man, I think.
yeah,
I tried um checking out other movies that the whole cast was in maybe like a year ago when I had watched the movie again. And there was some movie that she was in. It was like a it was some kind of like it was another horror movie, but I think it had to do with like an abandoned ship, like a big warship, and it was like a German Nazi ship or something like that. And
was it Blood
um,
Vessel?
maybe, dude, is she in that? Do you know if she's in that movie? Because she was definitely in the movie in this other one that I'm
I don't
talking
know.
about.
Blood Vessel was a random one that I watched one day on Shutter that was like fun, but it wasn't like anything to write home about. But it was pretty much about they find like
Right.
a vampire on the ship.
Hmm.
Maybe she is in that. Yep, she's in it.
Not sure.
Yep.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, Blood Vessel's it's like a Shutter original. I recommend it for people or it's on Tubi now too, so if you don't have Shutter, but
All
yeah,
right on.
uh
I'll have to finish it because I didn't get a chance to finish the movie. I think I got it about a quarter in, and a lot of the times I'll end up sitting down and watching something late at night. So
yeah.
then, sometimes I lose focus. I'm like, okay, dude, I can't, I'm not as young as I used to be. I'm 43 now, so it's like I can't just hang out all night and just stay up and watch movies. My body won't let me. So,
Yeah. No, I feel you. This was one literally the only reason I think I even watched it was because at the time my son was newborn and so like I was like having him lay on me to sleep and I was like just trying to find something quick because I was like I'm probably gonna sleep too and I ended up just staying up and watching it while he napped. But uh no,
right,
it was pretty good for sure. It was definitely fun and it's definitely just like especially if you like vampire films, it's a fun little twist on it and stuff. So but
right on. Yeah,
no,
I'll have
no,
to finish it.
and Lily Sullivan, I haven't seen it, but I know that she did that film Monolith, which got like somewhat decent reviews. So
I know that name, Monolith. Yeah, I haven't seen it.
yeah, me neither,
Oh,
but that's just all I've heard.
This
I
is
remember the trailer coming out and being like, "Oh, it looks interesting," and then I feel like it never really hit like a streaming service like or anything. So
It sounds like I'm guessing it's a sci-fi movie, but what is it? Is it like a horror movie or
yeah, it's like sci-fi horror. So
okay.
yeah,
All right.
definitely might be
Right
worth
on.
checking out. Just because no, I enjoyed uh them as well, especially Alyssa Sutherland. She's a standout for me too. Like they did the perfect job of casting such a physical presence because she's 5'11", which that's like my height. And for those that don't
Me
know,
too. Yeah,
yeah, that's pretty tall for like all for actors or actresses in general because like
that's what I
um
was gonna say. Yeah,
it, for those that don't know, Tom Cruise is 5'7". So like, and that's like somebody that you would see and think, oh, he's probably average height, but like 5'7" to 5'11" is kind of a big hike, you know what I mean? So
right.
you know,
For the movie world. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so she's like kind of a big presence, especially for, and it works putting her next to kids because then she looks even bigger than, these people that are obviously going to be shorter because they're children. So
Right, right. Yeah, it worked out great, man. It was great,
yeah,
great casting, and she did awesome, and love that movie. Oh, and then you brought up the pizza box.
yeah, the other
Um,
references and stuff. Henrietta's
yeah,
Pizza.
Henrietta, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, man. And I didn't catch that for a while, and then I think one of the times I watched it, I just noticed, actually read the name on the box because I think the other times I watched the movie, I just didn't read the box at all. I just saw there was a pizza and pizza box. I'm like, okay.
yeah,
But yeah, and then it rung a bell once I read it. I'm like, wait a second, what the heck is okay. Um, another Easter egg would be the tree cutting machine,
yeah,
um, which is Fonda's tree service or something like that.
yeah,
And from what I understand, Bridget Fonda wanted the leading role in Army of Darkness and couldn't get it. So she had the cameo in the S Smart clip where he's back at the store.
yeah,
And I think that's why they used her name, Fonda's Tree Service, as a tribute to her, I guess, or a reference
yeah.
to Bridget Fonda.
Now, and then another little nod, which is not as much of an Easter egg. Well, it's not as much as a visual one, but it's more of like a sound one. Is when he's playing the record and you hear all the people screaming and stuff. You hear Bruce Campbell's voice yell, "Turn it off!" Or he's yelling something. You hear him yell either "Turn it off" or "Close the or stop reading it" or something. Or it's
Yeah, yeah.
you hear
I
Bruce
know.
Campbell's
Yeah,
voice.
I
So
didn't know that, but I remember hearing something there where it sounded kind of familiar.
yeah, now and that's
Yeah,
his
dude.
cameo in the movie. So.
I'm gonna have to go back and hear that part again.
No, and then I think there's at least one more that I could. Well, there's actually two more that I can think of. The two guys the neighbor kids that show up at the door, they ask if they want to come watch the Nightmare on Elm Street movies with them. Which shout out to the one kid
Right.
because he's like, he's like, we're even gonna watch the shitty ones, and he's like, there are no shitty ones, and it's like, hell yeah, dude.
Right.
But which I
I
agree,
agree.
unless
There
you're
are
watching the
no.
remake, I don't.
Yeah, there are no bad ones, and I'm
Yeah,
I'm okay with the remake too, man. I'm just one of those. I'm just one of those Nightmare on Elm Street fans. But
yeah,
uh, yeah, I agree, man. There's no bad ones with
but
Nightmare on Elm. And I
which
love how he's got like Cheeto mouth, with the Cheeto
yeah,
crumbs all
I think he's like still sitting there just like shoveling them in while they're talking to him. Like,
over.
no,
Oh, that's great.
but of course that's a reference to Wes Craven, which Wes and Sam Raimi went back and forth with references. He had the Hills Have Eyes in the first Evil Dead. He has the Hills Have Eyes poster, and then in Evil Dead 2 you have the Freddy glove, and then of course in Nightmare on Elm Street she's watching Evil Dead on the TV to go
All right.
and she falls asleep watching it, as like a joke.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so no, they just had like, they already did it back and forth. So it was nice for this one to keep the references to Wes Craven going with that. Uh and then of course the other cool little nod is the eyeball in the mouth, which happens in Evil Dead 2 as
All
well.
right.
So
Yeah. 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 Forgot about that one. Yeah, that's right. Um, and there was something that I noticed that I don't know the answer to. You might know, man. Have you seen Mandy,
yeah,
the movie? Okay, so it struck me right away in the beginning when the girl walks back to the cabin, and it looks like a really, sharp kind of A-framed house.
yeah,
And it made me think, did they use the same house as they did in Mandy? Because in Mandy, I think they have the same looking kind of house with the bad guy, the drug lord guy. That's what his house looked like. Like it was just like that, and it was in the middle of the wilderness. So I don't know if like it's an actual house and they use the same house, just as the external for the scene, or if that house is non-existent and it was just a CGI house,
Yeah.
right? And I don't know. I have no idea, but it struck me right away. I was like, that looks like the same exact house from Mandy. I don't know if
I,
you noticed that, but
no, the only reason I have an answer to that is because we actually just covered Mandy like within like the last month, me and my co-host
right on.
Steven. And so I was listening to a podcast kind of deep dive into everything, and apparently Mandy like built that house, the house. It's actually Red's house because the cult just lives in a Winnebago, but they make it very much seem like and then of course when they see the cult later, they have that pointed like temple thing that looks very midsummerish, but they
Right.
don't like but there's a scene in there that very confusingly makes it seem like the Colts house. So I don't know exactly why you're thinking of it like that. Because they come there pretty much tie up Red and then take over the house and just like drug Mandy and it's like pretty much their house until they
Oh,
leave with Mandy. But then they let
okay.
Red go. But no, they built that house for that movie. So that's the only reason I know that it's not the same house. But it does look very
Okay.
similar. But Mandy also doesn't have like water. It's just in the middle of the woods. But I don't know
Right.
anything about the Evil Dead Rise house, so that looks like it could be, like you said, it literally could be the external could be just CGI, and then they built they had them on a dock or like a fake dock, and then a set on the inside.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't know, but okay. Well, that's good, man. You helped clarify that for me because it struck me like, dude, are they in the same, wilderness area that they shot Manny in? I don't know.
yeah, no, they do look very similar though with the pointedness, and then a lot of like windows and stuff too. So
Mm, yeah, yeah.
yeah, hell yeah,
Um, the ending for Evil Dead Rise is probably the bloodiest one, the
yeah.
bloodiest climax from all the Evil Deads, I think. The remake was pretty gnarly. Well, I guess should I call it a remake? The one that came out in what 2014 or well, what year did that one come out?
I think that was 2013, but I think it was falsely advertised as a remake, and then kind of came, and then once it came out, everybody realized that it was more of like a like lives in the same. It at the time they were kind of like, oh, it doesn't have to be a remake, blah blah blah. And now at this point, I think Sam Raimi has come out and said like, no, that is a different, like that's a film in the same universe, and that
Right,
if you go back to Army of Darkness, there's three Necronomicons when he
right.
goes up to the Necronomicons, and so we have seen like all three Necronomicons between the stuff that happens with Ash in the first ones, the stuff that happens in 2013, and then the third one was this film apparently. So.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. I totally forgot about the three books. Yeah, there's three.
Yeah, I don't know how they all ended up in the United States when, but
Yeah, I don't know, especially with all the tariffs going on, man. I don't know how they got it over here. But
yeah, I guess all the money hungry collectors of the United States make it makes sense that they ended up over here a little bit, but
um okay, yeah, so that makes yeah, it's not technically it's not a remake.
yeah,
Um yeah, but I didn't know what to think. I didn't know this whole time. I'm like, I don't know if it's an actual remake because it's super similar, but obviously the storyline's a little different, but same kind of setting and all this stuff. So, but yeah, even with that one was pretty gnarly, man. The way it ended, it was super gory. But yeah, I think Evil Dead Rise takes the cake on gore when it comes to the climax
yeah, that
for
one was
sure.
raining blood, but it that even the raining blood didn't feel like as bloody as the elevator and the wood chipper scenes like combined together. Like,
Right, right, because there was a chainsaw involved in when it was raining blood on the 2013 version.
yeah,
Um, but there also was the chainsaw for Evil Dead Rise and the wood chipper.
yeah.
So it was just it was just over the top. It was great.
And there's also like another kind of similarity weirdly between the two of them creating like another character in the lore of Evil Dead with the Abomination coming
Right.
out of the ground in the 2013 and then the Marauder in this one which I wish they would have had like a needle drop for the band Marauder. That would have been sick as fuck, but no, I definitely gonna make that the song when I post that we're doing this movie on no, of course it'll be a song from the Dickies because you're the guest, but no,
I don't know, man. I think you should either use Marauder or use both somehow. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
maybe in the story I'll use Marauder and then on the actual post use the Dickies, uh
Yeah.
but no, hell yeah. but just those characters are so cool. Like I love the Marauder, I love the Abomination, and like it's something that makes these films like stand out in a way that still feels like it makes sense because we're growing the lore in a way that uh makes sense. Because I hate when films grow the lore, but it feels like they're going back and like filling in lore, where this is like just stuff that you never heard about because like we've only seen like a guy read 2 pages of the book and then everything goes to shit. You know what I mean? So
Right.
or listen to a tape where somebody else is reading a page of the book and everything goes to shit. So
Yeah. Yeah. And then in this one, when one of the kids um doesn't even read it, right? He plays the records this time. So
yeah,
there's a different way of conjuring, the demon or demons. And that was pretty cool, man. Like using the record because it made it more creepy. Because
yeah,
if you're old enough to know records, well, I guess they've been pretty popular the past decade. So a
yeah,
lot of kids, youngsters are familiar with it. But you can put your finger on it and slightly slow it down, and whatever you're listening to could sound weird and creepy if you wanted to. You know what I mean? So I thought that was great how he had to actually, yeah, I guess he had to slow it down. I forget, or he had to no, he had to speed it up for it to sound normal, right, or something like that. I forget for him to actually hear their voices correctly for it to read.
yeah.
But
I can't remember exactly. There was one or the other. It might have even been both. Depending on when he was, because I think he had two records, or he just flipped the one. But
yeah, yeah. But I thought that was really cool how he had to do that. So you hear some of that creepy like slowing down and speeding up, and it has this uneven, you know, um, wavelength and audio to it when you're listening to their voices. I loved it. It was pretty rad.
no, hell yeah, and honestly, like exactly like you said, vinyl has become so popular again over the past decades, and not even that. This kid is a DJ, so he would have been popular. Like it would have been popular with him anyways. But let's be real, like who the fuck has a cassette? I mean, cassettes kind of tried to become popular again, but I feel like that fad's already kind of not as it's not reached as the popularity of vinyl players where right now you could walk into Walmart and buy a freaking record player, you know what I mean? So but it's
Right.
like it's so hard to find a cassette player. So and in Evil Dead 2, I believe it was either an actual like a reel to reel thing that he was listening to it on, or it was like or just like a cassette like tape and like a big recorder. I can't remember exactly what it was, but so that's what I like is the vinyl thing was like a good way of still keeping something that is a classic form of media, but somebody would obviously have a way to play it today, and with their curiosity would play it obviously, but so it was like a good way of
Right.
keeping something classic and updating it at the same exact time, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, I thought it was rad, man. It's really cool. But then for the next one coming, I'm kind of curious of how they're going to try and present that.
yeah.
Maybe back to reading the book, or I don't know.
No, that's what I've always wondered. And sometimes I always want to see like maybe what happens when we don't follow the people that start the problem, but like maybe are like in the apartment next door. You know what I mean? Like uh like dude, fucking something's going on with these neighbors. They can't stop fighting or something. And then the next thing you know, like they go out in the hallway and there's like a deadite run into the hall with like their dead husband's head or something, you know what I mean, in their hands. Like
Right.
it would be cool to see like an outbreak of like a Deadite outbreak. That's what I kind of thought we were gonna get with Evil Dead Rise. I will say, so my expectations were kind of higher than what we even got, and I still loved this film because I really
Right.
expected this to be like when I heard it was in a high rise, I was like, dude, there's gonna be like an army of Deadites by the end of the movie, like running through the streets of New York or something, and then like, or at least like just tearing through, like kind of like the movie Demons 2, where like
Oh,
it's
right.
it's all in like an apartment complex and shit, and they all just slowly like go crazy. So I thought it was gonna be something a little bit more on those edges. So when it still ended up only being like a cast of maybe 10 people tops, it's probably still the biggest Evil Dead cast besides Army of Darkness. Um, but overall it just worked perfectly, and all those cast members. Like one of my favorite scenes in the entire film is that like eye hole scene where you see all like a lot of the neighbors getting killed and stuff, and she's just like tearing through them. Like I loved like that. That was like a play on that was a way of doing homage to Evil Dead without doing something exactly from the old films, just by doing like a very unique camera shot. You know what I mean? Because that's exactly what they're known
Mm,
for, is those unique camera shots. And so by like finding that, like, okay, now we're gonna go through and look through like this, the lens of a peephole on a door and watch people get straight slaughtered. It was like such a
right.
blast. But
Yeah, that was a unique take on it. Yeah, like looking through the peephole
you know,
and seeing all that happening. And then the mom like trying to talk her daughter into opening the door and singing to her and saying, I think she mentioned something like "Daddy's here." Like she's just trying to do whatever she can and talk so pleasantly and nice to like, get her daughter's trust back just for a second, just to unlock the door.
you know,
I thought that was great. Yeah, Alyssa's part in that was rad. Just you know, and then being parents, we can totally see that how you know you, we're not deadites, but there's times where we have to calm situations down and make sure our kids you know are not scared or freaked out when little things happen, and that they kind of like I really connected with that part, seeing like, oh yeah, I know what she's trying to do. She's obviously, she's trying to make her kid feel comfortable
yeah.
just so she can unlock that door, just for that one little second
No, I
and
did.
get back in.
I took my kid to a wrestling match for the first time ever last night. It was like a local wrestling thing, like a BC Virginia Championship Wrestling, and it was like and by wrestling I mean like pro, like quote unquote pro wrestling, not like Olympic wrestling or that type of stuff.
Okay, yeah.
And so uh I had a moment where I had to explain to him why he didn't get a high five from the heel. And I had to explain, like, he, like, as soon as the guy, well, first off, he went up to get a high five from the dude, and the dude, like, swatted his hand. And I've never seen my kid whip around and, like, run to me so quick. And I was like, I had to, like, he was about to be like, Dad, what the fuck, And I was like, I had to explain to him, he's 5 years old. I was like, look, I was like, he's the bad guy. I was like, that's why he did that. I was like, he's just playing his role. I was like, go back. I was like, hurry up. I was like, hurry back. The good guy's about to come out. And so then he went back and he got a high five from the good guy. And like afterwards, he was like, he came back up and he was like, when that guy loses, I'm gonna go over there. And when he's walking out, I'm gonna punch him in the face. And I was like, no, you're not. I was like, and then he's just like yelling, you suck the whole match and stuff. So I was like, but there was a minute where it was like he was almost like really sad, like he was about to be hurt and sad by it. And I was like, Bubba, I was like, I
Yeah.
promise. And it's kind of the same thing I've had explained to him because he goes to horror conventions and loves taking pictures with people that are dressed like Art the Clown. Like
Oh, man.
my wife's phone probably has like 35 pictures because usually I'm the one that walks up with them and she takes the photo because like I'm like, hey, can and I've had to explain to them like when people are dressed as Art the Clown, sometimes they will not speak because that's the character. Like they're trying to play the character and they're not being rude. I was like, that's why they like honk their horn at you and like get down and like talk to you or like get down to your level and stuff. I was like, they're communicating with you, but
Right.
and they always take a picture, say yeah, like shake their head yes and stuff, or they have somebody with them that's super sweet and talks for them, like if it's if it's like a teenager, it might be their girlfriend or significant other, and if it's like a sometimes it's an even younger kid and they have like their parent with them, so but no, I know exactly
Right.
what you mean. But the good thing about the fun thing about the conversations in the film is when they turn evil and she's like, you titty sucking parasites and shit like
Oh,
that.
yeah. Yeah, it's just some of those scenes, man, like getting stabbed right through the hand with a piece of glass, a big piece of mirror.
Yeah. Oh, her
That was
chewing
gnarly. And then what's up?
the chew when she eats the glass and it's like,
Oh,
oh, cut your
yeah,
throat,
dude.
dude. Oh,
So gnarly. And the tattoo gun to the face.
yeah.
Oh, bro.
No,
I
there's so
mean, I'm sure
many.
there's a lot of people that are cool with that, but I'm not cool with it. I don't want a tattoo needle to the cheek, dude.
Well, not even that. Like, as
Get
people
me
that have been
bummed.
tattooed, like, getting tattooed when like the way you're supposed to be tattooed is one thing, but having somebody jam that shit into your face would be like that hurt.
Different story, dude.
Yeah. But nah, hell yeah. Any other scenes or anything you want to mention before we kind of like just chat about the ending a little bit more and wrap up with
Hmm.
rating it and stuff? Or
Well, when Alyssa Sutherland ends up like they put her in the bathtub, right? And then that's when she really makes her
yeah,
transformation. That's pretty rad. The water starts boiling and then she pops up and sticks to the ceiling.
yeah, her physical performance here is like top notch.
Yeah, man, that was rad. Um, I'm not sure what that reminded me of. It kind of it was reminiscent of something as far as like, the water boiling and her being in it. I don't know if that reminds you of anything in particular, like another movie, but
The water kind of
that
reminded
definitely
me
seemed.
of Lost Boys when the vampire gets thrown in the tub and then come shooting back out.
Yeah, bro. There you go.
Yeah. And then
That's definitely
the way she's on the ceiling remind me of Bray Wyatt. I'm not gonna lie, rest in peace, the wrestler,
okay.
because he used to pop
All
up in
right.
like a spider walk, and he played like
Oh, really?
a horror character and stuff. So it was pretty cool. He was like a guy from the Bayou that had like a. He ended up doing other horror characters. He actually had a mask that was done by Tom Savini and his team and stuff. And
Okay.
Jason Baker, I think, who works with Tom Savini, like actually did the mask, but like it was like a big collaboration with all of them. But he played a character where he was like the leader of a cult, like Swamp Family thing, and he would come out with like a lantern and stuff. But that was like a thing he'd pop up in like a spider walk, like kind of exactly how she is on the ceiling. So as soon as I saw that, I was like,
Whoa, man.
I popped like I was
That's
watching
wild.
wrestling. But well, and he was a husky guy, so that's what made the like thing even cooler because he wasn't like one of these like super in shape wrestlers. He's like a bigger dude, like closer to like a mankind or something, you know. So
Right. Yeah. So being that size and doing that spider crawl or stance or whatever, yeah,
yeah,
that's off-putting.
yeah. You like you like watching him like try to hold his shirt down while he's doing it. Keep the belly from coming out. But no, but yeah, no, I go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna just elaborate on that scene and that whole thing. So
Yeah,
that was really cool. And then obviously that leads to having that broken mirror piece in her hand. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Uh, but another part, I think, even though all the different ways of damaging and hurting and killing and all that are all pretty wild and unique, the part when she first comes back into the apartment though, and she starts cooking the eggs,
Oh yeah.
that was cool. That was wild.
She's just like slamming them down, and they're like there's blood in some of them, and
And she starts talking crazy and the way she laughs, you know what I mean? It was just so, it was rad, dude. It was perfect.
yeah. No, they did a good job of building the Deadite, like having it like slowly take over and then like just go full on crazy with it once it did. No, and this that's one thing I like another 10 out of 10 with this film in my opinion. What no, that's right. I was talking about when I was saying that the score was a 10 out of 10, I was talking about Insidious, which I do think this score is damn close to a 10 out of 10 in this film as well. But something that I do think is a 10 out of 10 in this film is the pacing. Like once it gets moving, you know, you got that crazy opening scene, and then once you get introduced to the family, it's not long at all until she starts becoming a deadite. And then once she does, like, you know, so many people get infected so quickly, and she's constantly like there's a scene between her and the daughter, then there's a scene between the daughter and the sister, then the sister and the sister, then the brother and like everybody has a character like a scene with somebody else where something gory happens from the chewing the wine bottle, which I think is the same scene that turns into the cheese grater scene, which I will say the cheese grater could have been a little bit more used a little bit more, but it was still pretty
Right.
cool. But uh just because it was hyped up so much, I thought we were gonna get some shit, but it was just like a quick little
Exactly, man. Yeah, it was sold a little bit short. I mean, not sold short, but
yeah.
what actually happened was like, oh, really? That's it?
But and then you
It
got
was still gnarly, but yeah.
of course you got Stephanie, which was pretty cool too. Like the girl's like staff with the doll head on it.
Yeah. And you know what? I got to tell you, man, with all the gore in that movie, for some reason, Stephanie kind of like that was the one weapon that for me, even before she ended up accidentally using it, like gave me the like the willies, like, oh dude, that looks like super violent and sharp and dangerous, man. Once they broke it and she picks it up and it's like this thick staff that's like a total killing tool, man. Like once I saw that, it kind of gave me that feeling of, oh dude, that's gonna be the most violent weapon there is in this movie.
Yeah.
Which technically it wasn't, but it felt that way when I saw it. That's what I thought.
No, and shout out that actress. Her name is Nell Fisher. She was just the star of Stranger Things season 5.
Right.
For
Yeah. I forgot to mention that, man. Yeah,
yeah.
we watched that not too long ago and she seemed familiar and I didn't put it together for a little bit because once once the new Stranger Things came out, as of then I hadn't rewatched Evil Dead Rise for probably for months.
Yeah.
So then that was kind of like totally out of my trans commitment, you know. And so I'm like, I know I've seen this girl, man. And then after watching all the latest Stranger Things and then deciding to come back to Evil Dead Rise, I'm like, oh, that's where I saw her from. That's where she's from. Yeah.
No, and she's of course aged a little bit too from Stranger Things, and like, well, not from Stranger Things, but from Evil Dead Rise to Stranger Things, she's aged a little bit too, so she does look slightly older. So it's like definitely not like like, like she doesn't look exactly the same. So it does take a minute to kind of recognize her, but her performance in Evil Dead Rise made me so much more confident in Stranger Things season 5 when I saw her show up as the, because like sometimes, like for instance, knowing that it was the final season of Stranger Things, when I started to see that we're gonna follow Mike's little sister all of a sudden, I was like, whoa, like we got too many characters we got to care about. Why the fuck are we starting to follow somebody else? Uh, but once I realized it was her, like, which I pretty much did within like the first episode, I was like, uh, super stoked on it because I was like, okay, I could follow somebody if I know their performance is going to be strong. And because of the way she performs in this film, I was like already sold on her. So she's, to
Right.
me, top two child actresses right now. Her and the girl from Black Phone. Um, I wish I
Oh,
could
right.
can remember her name, but she's incredible as well. I think her name's something McGraw because um, there's Madeline McGraw and then there's another McGraw and their sisters. One of them was in Megan and one of them was in Black Phone. So,
Okay.
but I can't remember which one's which, but she's incredible as well. But those are like, to me, like the two child actresses, at least in horror, you know what I mean? I can't speak for like outside of horror and stuff, but that are
Right.
really, really killing it. So,
Right. Yeah, she did great in Evil Dead Rise, man. And then yeah, even in Stranger Things, you know.
yeah,
And I don't know how far apart they are. I don't know when they filmed that latest season for Stranger Things, but to me, yeah, she seemed the same. It's just I couldn't put her face to the movie I saw her in before. I just knew I had seen her in another movie.
yeah,
But yeah, she did great, man.
no,
It's a wonder to me how, you know, kids that young could be so great at that kind of thing. It's like, you know, the way I see things is you get really good at something that you've been practicing and working on for a long time.
yeah,
But obviously that's not always the case. You know,
right,
you get great actresses like her, and she's just a little kid, you know, and just and she does so well. She does great,
yeah.
obviously.
No, I know exactly what you mean. Meanwhile, you got some people that have been acting since kids, and you're like, how do you still get movies, dude? Like, but I'm not gonna call anybody out by name because I gotta get some guests on the shows in the future. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, but no, and to kind of piggyback on something you mentioned before, I just want to touch on the ending a little bit, and then we can wrap up by like rating it and giving our final thoughts and stuff. Is uh, how you mentioned Stephanie being one of the like more unsettling things for you. That's kind of how it was for me in the elevator scene when she gets all vined up and like her body all twisted.
Mm,
That was like harder for me to watch than like the cheese grater, than the eating of the. I mean, the eating of the glass was probably second to the elevator for me, but that like whole part where she gets twisted up and like caught in the elevator, especially like something about stuff like that happening to somebody while they're, kind of the same thing that, which I feel like that's a weird, not a weird homage, but just like a unique way to homage the R-worded by trees scene from the first movie. Uh, and so I feel like it's a homage to that, but the horror of those scenes, not exactly what's happening, especially in Evil Dead 1, but um the fact of being so isolated when these things are happening is like extra terrifying to me, where like having it done to you by somebody, I feel like you have something to fight back against and this and that, where all these unseen forces doing these things make it even more scary, especially when you have nobody to call out to or anything. So it's just like, not only are you alone with nothing to like, nothing that you could physically fight back against, at least to your knowledge, but also there's nobody to even like try to help you. So
right, right. And even in the elevator, near the end when it fills up with blood, that was unsettling too, because it's like you can't help but imagine yourself about to drown. You know,
yeah,
that's basically what it was. It wasn't so much that it was blood, it was so much that it was filling up and they were running out of space, you know? So
yeah.
that whole fear of drowning aspect or the feeling of, that thing, that was pretty unsettling too. Yeah.
Yeah. And then of course elevators in general are scary, just because nobody wants to even get trapped in one, let alone anything else happen like a flood or something
Right.
wild. But no, oh yeah. But no, no, no. The only thing I wanted to touch on the ending that I was mentioning is just a little bit more on that Marauder aspect. I love the like meshing together scene. It felt very shunty, from the society. But then also just like the way
Mm.
that they crawled and moved and everything was just so badass. How'd you feel about the Marauder character in general? And then of course like how they uh like how it played out, with it, following her and how they got rid of it and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, that added like another level of kind of campiness and kind of like like gnarly, but also like a little bit cheesy, but in the
Yeah.
great kind, like the typical, Evil Dead cheesy type of awesome stuff where, it crawls up and disappears. You don't actually see it crawl up, but you see how it, when they look up to where it went, that it just had disappeared, up I think it was up the vent or something like that.
Yeah.
So like little things like that where it's like, okay, come on, man.
Yeah.
It's cheesy, but it was the right kind. It was perfect for it. And at the end, what I thought was pretty rad was when the sisters kind of like she gets it right at the tree, the wood chipper, and she's killing it, and it's kind of getting separated, and going feeding into the wood chipper. That was pretty wild.
Yeah. Now and then when she
Where
like chainsaws it down the middle too, and it like splits
yeah,
even more. Yeah.
yeah. So them being, coming together, and then at the wood chipper, getting sawed up, and then them kind of going into the wood chipper, almost one by one. You know what I mean? Being separated again
Yeah.
before being mended. That was pretty wild. That was cool.
Now I agree when
Super
it
gory.
yeah. No, when that scene starts to happen, it's almost like we've gotten all the brutal gore and fun out of the way. Now it's time to let's get a little gross, you know what I mean? Like, which some of the other films definitely do. So no, I agree. I love the Marauder, the aspect of it. Like it goes campy, but it keeps the blood levels up. That's when it gets the goriest scene of the whole movie with the elevator, if you're just counting blood, as the gore. But
Right.
but
And
no,
that
yeah.
would have been cool if I forget her name. I think it's Teresa or Jessica. It's one of those two girls, the one that's actually at that apartment. That
Yeah.
would have been cool if when she turned on her car. I think she turned on her car. Was she able to turn on her car? I forget. I know she's going out to her car.
She might have hit like the alarm, but I don't think she actually turned it
Oh,
on.
right.
Yeah, she like dropped
Yeah.
something.
I mean,
Yeah.
if she got into the car, that would have been cool if she turned it on and there was Marauder on her speakers. You know what I mean? That would have been cool. Just for like
Oh
a second.
yeah. Hell yeah.
And then for the 2013 Evil Dead, that would have been kind of cool if they had fit in Rain and Blood,
Yeah.
Slayer's Rain and Blood somewhere, for a second.
Right.
That would have been cool.
No, that would have been sick as fuck. But or even on the needle drop of like the credit roll, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
just have the nod there. But no, I do love that little like comeback at the very end where the girl like it has the zoom up camera that like that Ash always faces towards the end of the Evil Dead films.
Right.
Kind of zoom up to her and then, cycle back to the beginning of the film. But
Yeah, it was a great tying of the bow.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
But no, man, it was fun chatting about this film with you. If you had to rate it out of 10, what would you give it a rating? And of course, if you have any final thoughts you want to throw out on it, I know we've pretty much covered most things, but
Yeah, I would probably say because it is one of my favorites now, and like I said, it's become one of my comfort falling asleep to movies. It's like I would say strong nine, close to
hell yeah.
10, but strong nine, man.
No,
Absolutely.
I'm literally right there with you. This is one that I would give a straight 9 as well. The only reason I would dock it is because not all the ideas are original. There is a lot of homages and stuff like that.
Right.
But there's not a other thing that I could really even dock it for. You know what I mean? It's hard to give something. It's hard to call any film perfect. Um, so I got to dock it a little bit and nitpick it. But no, I got to give this a 9 out of 10. I've enjoyed the shit out of it. Like I said, that theater experience was a blast, but not even that. I've watched this on the projector over in the middle of summer once, like this past summer, just because I wanted to show it to some people and they had a blast with it. So no, this is a quick recommend, and it's one that because it lives within the franchise, but you don't need to see a single film in the franchise to enjoy it. It becomes another one that I'm like, I could recommend to somebody that is asking for horror recommends during October, you know what I mean? When some of the casual viewers, of horror jump in and stuff and start asking for recommendations and stuff at work, or family members and stuff. So
Right, and you're absolutely right that you don't have to watch the other movies. It's just it's the tale being told all over again.
Yeah.
So you don't have to watch the other movies to be like, oh, I don't get this, or there's no like connections that need to be made between the other movies to understand this one, this story, you know. So you're right. Yeah, that's a huge plus, I
Man,
think.
technically it's the most unique outside of Army of Darkness, but you know, you're not in the cabin in the woods anymore. You actually have a full-on family that's not just, you know, like a family and friends or strangers. Like it's all family oriented. You have literally a pregnant woman. There's so that ups the stakes. You have probably more while also making all the characters family, you add all these neighbor characters that make the film have more casualties and more uh just characters in general than any other film. So there's just so many things in this that are unique to the franchise, but it still feels so at home in the franchise as well. That I think that's what makes this film special. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, absolutely, man.
but hell
So
yeah.
yeah, nine out of 10, man.
Oh yeah. Well, I appreciate you for joining me, man. It was fun chatting with you about it. And of course we'll have to do this again about, you know, in a couple months down the road or a year and pick another film.
Yeah, man. And I noticed your Killer Clowns gun there.
Hell yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
wanting to get one myself. I haven't got one, but I want to. I think Leonard has one. He's brought it onto stage a couple times, I think last year.
That was one that I hunted down like the very first year they came out when they were hard as fuck to get, and then I was so butthurt because the next year they're like you can get them at every spirit. Like now
Hmm.
every October they're available, like easily available. So
Right, right.
the popcorn gun has become harder to get, but I don't know if I have
Oh, that's the
shelf
larger
space
one,
for that.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like a larger, almost rifle looking thing. And then your Toxic Avenger thing there. Is that the popcorn box from the movie theater?
yeah, yeah.
That's
That's
awesome, man. Yeah, I haven't seen it, but when I heard it was in production, I was hoping we would get the call to do another Toxic
right.
Avenger song. Yeah, because we did one way before I was in the band. I
Yeah,
think it was 80s, right? And I think they were Dickies were asked to do one, and then once it was done, it was way too late. Like they took forever. They took too
yeah.
long to do the song, so it wasn't used. But I was kind of hoping, you know, when this one came out, I'm like, oh, dude, we might get hit up. We'll make a new one, but it didn't quite happen, so that's okay.
Yeah.
I still got to watch the movie though. I want to see it.
It's super
Seems
fun.
fun.
It's on Hulu now. I really enjoyed it. It was one of my favorites of it was on my top 10 of last year. It was like number 8 or 7, but it was super I had a blast with it. To me it lives up to the older one, but I'm with you. I do wish that they would have given you all the call for that, but it might have been one of those things that because it wasn't actually used, Macon Blair might not have known that it was supposed to be because
Right,
him being a
right,
horror
right.
fan, I'm
Yeah,
sure he would have liked to.
whoever's involved with that one had probably had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Lloyd, if he did know, I'm sure he forgot at this point. So
Right.
'Cause I've had Lloyd Kaufman
Wow.
on, and when he came on the show, he was pantsless and he played clarinet for me. So I can't remember if it was clarinet or saxophone, but yeah, he played something, and it was like mid-pandemic. He was like, "I've been learning an instrument," and he played that, and he was like, he literally crossed his legs and had no pants on. He's like, "Oops." He had
You
underwear on.
can't
He wasn't
top
like
that,
nude.
man. Pantsless sax. Yeah, you can't top that.
Oh yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you for joining me. Of course, the link for your YouTube channel will be down in the description, and
Right on.
hopefully the Dickies can get over to the East Coast
I hope
sometime this
so,
year.
man. I really hope so because last time we did, it was beautiful. You know,
Yeah,
some parts was super warm. You know, I think we started in Florida on that tour.
yeah.
Pretty swampy and warm, man, but it was a beautiful experience. So I hope we get out to do that again. And
Oh, yeah.
then you know what? Also, now that I think about it, I don't know if you ever shop on Sweetwater. Do you ever buy instruments or anything like that?
I've been looking into getting a new cab recently because with my space, I want to go from like having a I don't even remember what I have. I have a Bajera cab that I've had for years, and I think it's like a 4x10. But I want to get like a 2x10 or a 2x12. That way I could just hook my I have a 6505 plus that I run straight through. I use no because I just play like usually when I play it's just like basic hardcore, so I don't use any pedals or anything. And
Right
but I
on.
want to be able to put it like underneath my desk so that way it's completely out of sight, out of mind. But so
Yeah.
I am probably
Yeah.
gonna buy one of those soon. So I have been
Right on.
looking lately, but either that or a new acoustic. So I do buy stuff, but not as I know like there's collectors that buy pedals often, and I don't shop that often, but
Yeah, I'm not big on that either. Like I know there's some drummers that just have like an arsenal of snares, which is beneficial, but
Yeah.
I just don't do that. I don't have the space to do that. I don't spend a lot of money on on myself, so I don't have like an arsenal of kits and snares. But I have my own page on Sweetwater.
Fuck
So
yeah.
I'm partnered with them and I have a landing page there. So like on my page you can see all the stuff I use along with stuff I wish I had is
Yeah.
also on there, like drum wise. And then and I'll send you the link so you can add it in the description. But once anyone's there looking at the drum stuff, they can still shop for whatever they want on
Yeah.
the site. I mean, that just kind of takes them to my page, and then from there they can go wherever they want.
Oh yeah.
So there's that. Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
No, that's awesome. And they're they're like my go-to shop to go look at, and like when last time I bought something, I don't even remember what it was, but it was from them. I think it honestly might have just been like a bunch of packs of strings or strings and like a new cable at the time when I was still playing shows, but it's been so long, like I just play acoustic stuff now or my guitar and plugs because it's like everything's been in storage. But no, hell yeah, I definitely put that link in the description, man. And hopefully you guys make it to the East Coast, even if it's like 3 or 4 hours away from me, I'll make the trip and come out and check you guys out. So because that'd be awesome.
Freaking A, man. All right, yeah. I'm assuming if we do come back, it'll be Raleigh.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's not far at all. And I got family out there. So I could bring the kid. He has a place to sleep over and I drop him off and come to the show. Or I'll bring him to the show depending on where it's at. But
Yeah, right. I've done that with my daughter. She's 8, so if it's the right place, right time,
yeah.
bring her
No.
and bring her little isolation phones, her little pink isolation phones, and
Oh yeah.
it's fun.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you for joining me, man. It was a blast as always, and we'll definitely have to, shoot the shit down the road and pick another horror movie or even just a topic if you want to do something more broad, like, top 5 found footage films
Right
or
on. That sounds fun, man.
5
Doing like a top 5, yeah.
yeah, soundtracks or, songs. We can, because you guys are known for doing songs for horror movies, we can do songs, made specifically for movies. You got Man Behind the Mask, you got Freddy's Dead. Well, Freddy's got like 4 different fucking songs. So you got Dream Warriors, you got the
You got Freddy's Dead by Fishbone.
what's the, I have it on literally the Fat Boy. Oh, the Fat Boys. I have it on vinyl.
So there's Dokken, Fat Boys, Fishbone, and unofficially there's a SOD song, right? It's
Yeah.
Man, I think it's called Man of Your Dreams or something like that
You
by
got two.
SOD, but it's not on any of the movies. It's just a song about Freddy Krueger.
You got Nightmare by Tuesday Night. The running from this nightmare or whatever. I'm
Oh,
not a
okay.
singer. That's for sure. But no, yeah, and
Yeah,
then
banger, bro.
yeah, there's a bunch of good songs. So now it'd be a fun one to do, But
Yeah. Yeah,
but
let's
anything,
do
of
that,
course,
dude.
like whatever topic you want to do. But oh yeah.
Right on. I'm down.
But and of course we could just say Dickies doesn't count that way. You don't have to feel obligated to put. It would definitely
We'll
be on
mention
my
it, but yeah, it won't count. It won't be
yeah.
on the official list.
Yeah.
It'll be
I'd
just
say
a mention.
it'd be very high on my list. It would be 1 or 2. I gotta say, Terror Vision by the Fibonacci's might be the only thing to compete with you guys.
Right on. You know what? I have to revisit that one. If you have like a YouTube link for it, send it to me, dude.
Yeah. No, I definitely I will. That film is so fucking fun. But well, I appreciate you, man. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, brother. Thanks for having me on, man.
Thanks, man. Later.
Later, bro.